I bet my best friend $23 that my girlfriend was loyal. She failed the test overnight. I handed Ryan the $23 and a leftover cheeseburger from Burger King while we sat on his couch passing a controller back and forth. If you can get Becca to actually flirt back, it's yours. He looked up from the screen. You're serious. Dead serious. Prove she's loyal. You won't get anywhere. Ryan grinned like I just dared him to jump off a roof. Deal. I texted Becca that I'd be at Ryan's all night grinding through some campaign mode, which was true. She sent back a thumbs up and said she'd probably just watch Netflix at her place. Normal. Easy. I figured Ryan would send her some dumb message. She'd screenshot it and send it to me laughing, and we'd split the burger. An hour later, my phone buzzed. Becca asking if Ryan was single. I stared at the message for a full 10 seconds before showing him. He shrugged. Guess I'm better at this than you thought. Just mess with her a little. Don't actually do anything. Relax, it's a test, right? He picked up his phone and started typing. I went back to the game but kept glancing over. His screen lit up every few minutes. Hers stopped lighting mine up entirely. Around 11, she texted me asking if Ryan's place had a second couch because she was bored and didn't want to be alone. I told her, yeah, come over. Ryan shot me a look but didn't say anything. She showed up 20 minutes later wearing leggings and an oversized hoodie, hair still damp from a shower. She sat between us on the couch and kept leaning into Ryan every time something funny happened on screen. Her knee touched his. She laughed too loud at something he said that wasn't even a joke. I pretended not to notice. This was the test. She was supposed to recognize what he was doing and shut it down. She didn't. Midnight hit and I said I was crashing in the guest room because I had an early class. Becca said she'd stay up a little longer. Ryan said he'd keep her company. I lay in the dark on a mattress that smelled like old laundry and listened to muffled voices in the living room. Then footsteps. A door closing. Ryan's door. I checked my phone. No messages. I got up around 2 and walked into the hallway. Ryan's door was still shut. A sliver of light showed underneath. I stood there long enough to hear her laugh again, quieter this time, and then I went back to the guest room and stared at the ceiling until my alarm went off. When I came out in the morning, she was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. Ryan was in the kitchen pouring cereal. Neither of them looked at me. Sleep okay? Becca asked. Fine. She kissed me on the cheek and said she had to get to class. Ryan walked her to the door. They stood there talking in low voices for a minute before she left. I waited until the door clicked shut. What happened? Ryan poured milk into his bowl and didn't look up. Nothing you didn't already know was going to happen. We had a deal. We did. And I won. He slid his phone across the counter. Messages between them from last night. Flirting that turned into more. Plans to meet up again. Her saying she didn't think I'd even notice. I scrolled through every word and felt something collapse in my chest that I didn't have a name for yet. Ryan picked up his phone and pocketed it. You wanted proof. There it is. I confronted Becca in the campus coffee shop 2 days later because I couldn't get her to answer my calls, and showing up at her dorm felt too desperate. She was sitting with 2 friends I barely knew, laughing at something on her phone. When she saw me walking over, her smile dropped. Can we talk? I'm kind of busy. It'll take 2 minutes. Her friends exchanged looks. One of them picked up her bag and muttered something about needing to hit the library. The other stayed put, scrolling through her phone but clearly listening. Becca sighed and stood up. Fine. Outside. We walked to the edge of the quad where a few benches sat under trees that were already losing their leaves. She crossed her arms and waited. So you and Ryan? Yeah, me and Ryan. That's it? That's all you're going to say? She looked at me like I'd asked her to explain basic math. What do you want me to say? It happened. I'm not going to apologize for feeling something real. Real. You've known him for 3 days. I've known him longer than that. We've hung out plenty of times. You just never noticed because you were too busy assuming I'd sit around waiting for you to finish another raid or whatever. You told him you didn't think I'd even notice. Her face changed, just for a second. Then she shrugged. I was venting. He actually listens. He listened because I paid him $23 to flirt with you. She blinked. What? It was a bet. A stupid test to prove you wouldn't cheat. He won. You failed. Her mouth opened and then closed. She stared at me like I'd just admitted to something unforgivable. You tested me. Yeah, and you couldn't even make it one night. You're insane. She took a step back. You set me up. You literally orchestrated this and now you're mad it worked. I'm mad because you were supposed to shut him down. That was the whole point. She turned and walked away before I could say anything else. I stood there watching her disappear into the student center and felt the ground tilt under me. Ryan stopped coming to class. When I finally tracked him down at his apartment 3 days later, he opened the door just wide enough to block the frame. We're done talking. You knew this was messed up. You knew what you were doing. I knew you were setting her up to fail. I also knew she deserved better. He leaned against the door frame. She told me about the test. Congrats. You played yourself. You were my best friend. Yeah, and you handed me $23 to prove your girlfriend was trash. What kind of friend is that? He started to close the door. Don't contact me again. Don't contact her. Move on. The door clicked shut. I stood in the hallway staring at the scuffed paint and tried to think of something to say that would undo the past week. Nothing came. Becca posted a photo 2 days later. Her and Ryan sitting on his couch, her head on his shoulder, both of them smiling like they'd been together for years. The caption said something about unexpected happiness. 37 people liked it in the first hour. I deleted every message thread we'd ever had. Then I sat on my dorm room floor and opened them again from the cloud backup and read through 2 years of late-night texts and inside jokes and plans we'd made for spring break. I searched for the moment it had started falling apart and couldn't find it. Everything looked fine right up until the night I handed Ryan a crumpled bill and thought I was being clever. My roommate asked if I was okay. I told him I was great. He didn't believe me, but he stopped asking. I skipped my morning classes and then my afternoon ones. When my advisor sent an email asking if everything was all right, I didn't respond. The campus felt smaller every day. I saw Becca twice from a distance, both times with Ryan. Once they were holding hands near the library. Once they were sitting on the steps outside the dining hall splitting a sandwich. She looked happy. He looked smug. I blocked both of them on every platform I could think of, and then unblocked them an hour later because not knowing felt worse than seeing proof. She blocked me first the next day. Ryan's account went private. My parents called and asked how school was going. I told them fine. My mom said I sounded tired. I said I'd been studying a lot. She asked if I'd met anyone nice. I said no. I left school at the end of the semester with half my closet still unpacked, and a textbook I'd never returned sitting on my desk. My roommate said he'd mail it. I told him not to to bother. Before I deleted Venmo, I took a screenshot of the transaction. $23 sent to Ryan with a cheeseburger emoji and a flame. The date stamp showed exactly when I'd torched 2 years and a friendship in under 12 hours. I saved the screenshot in a folder I labeled receipts and told myself I'd delete it eventually. Then I went home and spent winter break pretending I'd had a great semester whenever someone asked. My parents bought it. My little sister didn't, but she was 13 and too busy with her own drama to care about mine. Spring semester started and I transferred schools. Smaller campus, cheaper tuition, nobody I knew. I told my parents it was about the program. They believed me because it was easier than asking what had really happened. Ryan and Becca stayed together. I knew because mutual friends still posted pictures sometimes, and I couldn't stop myself from looking. They looked good together. They looked like they made sense. I hated that more than anything else. I kept the screenshot. I told myself it was insurance in case I ever needed proof that I wasn't crazy, that this had actually happened the way I remembered, that I hadn't imagined the betrayal or the setup, or the way they'd both looked at me like I was the villain. I kept it because one day, I'd need them to remember exactly how their love story started. And when that day came, I'd make sure everyone else remembered too. I met someone 3 years later at a work conference in Denver. Her name was Ashley, and she laughed at my joke about terrible hotel coffee. We dated for 8 months before she told me I was still hung up on someone else. I said she was wrong. She showed me my phone screen lighting up at 2 in the morning because I'd been scrolling through Becca's public Instagram again. We broke up 2 weeks later. She said I was a good person who needed to figure out why I kept punishing myself. I didn't have an answer. I moved to Seattle for a job that paid better and required less emotional bandwidth. Software consulting, decent apartment, coworkers who didn't ask about my personal life. I deleted social media and told myself it was about productivity. It was really about stopping myself from checking if Becca and Ryan were still together. They were. I knew because my younger sister mentioned it once during a holiday call. She didn't realize it would land like a punch. She said something about running into Ryan's brother at a party and hearing they just moved in together. I changed the subject and she moved on. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday in October. Thick cardstock in a cream envelope with my name written in calligraphy that probably cost more than my first car payment. I stood in my apartment lobby holding it and felt my hands go cold. Rebecca Foster and Ryan Chen request the honor of your presence at their engagement celebration. The date was 2 months out. The venue was some winery an hour outside our college town. There was a handwritten note tucked inside on matching cardstock. Hey, I know it's been a long time. We'd really love for you to be there. It would mean a lot. Let's put the past behind us. R&B. I read it 3 times trying to figure out which one of them had written it. The handwriting was neat and careful. Probably Becca. Ryan's handwriting had always looked like a doctor's prescription pad. I set the invitation on my kitchen counter and stared at it for 2 days. Every time I walked past it, I felt something tighten in my chest that I couldn't name. Anger felt too simple. Grief felt too dramatic. It was something closer to unfinished business that had been sitting in a drawer for 6 years waiting for me to deal with it. I RSVP'd yes on the website they'd set up. There was a section for dietary restrictions and a drop-down menu for meal choices. I picked the salmon and left the message box blank. My sister called 3 days later. Mom said you're going to Ryan's wedding. Engagement party. Same thing. Are you sure that's a good idea? Why wouldn't it be? Because the last time you saw him, you told me you wanted to set his car on fire. I never said that. You heavily implied it. I switched the phone to speaker and opened my laptop. I'm fine. It's been 6 years. People move on. Do they though? I didn't answer because I'd just logged into an old email account I hadn't touched since junior year. The password manager autofilled and suddenly I was looking at messages I'd archived and told myself I'd deleted. Subject lines I recognized. Timestamps that made my stomach hurt. I have to go. Just don't do anything stupid. When have I ever done anything stupid? She laughed and hung up. I spent the next 2 hours digging through digital archaeology. Old texts backed up to cloud storage I'd forgotten existed. Screenshots saved in folders labeled with dates I'd tried to forget. The Venmo transaction was still there when I logged in through a browser because apparently Venmo keeps records forever, and I'd never actually deleted my account. $23 to Ryan Chen. The cheeseburger emoji looked ridiculous next to the flame. The date was October 14th, 6 years and 2 weeks ago. The night everything had started unraveling. I took a new screenshot, higher resolution this time. Then I scrolled back through the message history between me and Ryan from that week. Most of it was gone because he'd deleted his end when he blocked me, but my side was still there. Fragments of a conversation that made perfect sense if you knew what you were looking for. Did you talk to her yet? Dude, just be normal about it. I'm serious, if this works, you get another 20 cards. I screenshotted those too. Becca's messages were harder to find because I deleted the thread 4 times and restored it 3, but the cloud backup was thorough and patient. I scrolled back to the week after homecoming and found what I was looking for. I don't think he even noticed I was gone. Ryan's actually kind of sweet. Is it bad that I feel more excited about this than guilty? I saved everything to a folder on my desktop. Then I copied it to 2 different cloud services and a thumb drive I kept in my desk drawer. I labeled the folder October because that felt neutral enough that I wouldn't panic if someone saw it. My roommate from freshman year reached out the next week. We hadn't talked in 4 years, but apparently mutual friends were still a thing. He asked if I was going to the party. I said yeah. He said it was big of me to show up and support them. I told him I wouldn't miss it. The RSVP list was public on their website because they'd used some trendy platform that showed how many people had confirmed. 143 guests. I scrolled through names I recognized. Her sorority sisters, his fraternity brothers, my old study group. People who'd taken sides without knowing there were sides to take. I bought a new suit, charcoal gray. It fit better than anything I'd owned in college. The tailor asked if it was for something special. I said just a party. He told me I'd look sharp. I started running every morning because sitting still made my brain spin. 3 miles turned into 5. 5 turned into 8. My coworkers asked if I was training for something. I said maybe. They stopped asking after a while. My mom called 2 weeks before the party and asked if I was bringing a date. I said no. She asked if I was sure I wanted to go alone. I told her I'd be fine. She said she worried about me sometimes. I told her not to. I practiced what I'd say. Not out loud because that felt unhinged, but in my head while I ran or showered or sat in traffic. Different versions. expressions, different tones. Some of them sounded bitter. Some sounded rehearsed. I needed something that sounded true. The Thursday before the party, I printed everything. The Venmo transaction, the message fragments, 6 pages total on resume paper that felt substantial in my hands. I put them in a folder and slid the folder into my messenger bag. My sister texted asking if I needed a ride. I told her I was driving myself. She sent back a gif of a car driving off a cliff. I didn't respond. I took Friday off work and drove the 6 hours back to our college town. The highway looked the same except for new construction near the state line. I stopped at a gas station that used to be a Dairy Queen and bought coffee that tasted like burnt plastic. The winery was 40 minutes past campus, on roads that turned from asphalt to gravel. I drove past it once just to see. White string lights wrapped around fence posts. A barn that had been converted into an event space. Cars were already arriving even though the party didn't start for another day. I kept driving until I found a motel with a vacancy sign and checked in under a name that wasn't quite mine, but close enough that I'd remember to answer to it. I sat on the edge of the bed and opened the folder. The pages looked official, permanent, evidence of something that couldn't be argued away or reframed. I'd spent 6 years wondering if I'd imagined how it felt. If maybe I'd been the villain after all. If the test had been crueler than the betrayal. The paper proved I hadn't imagined anything. It proved they'd known exactly what they were doing. That their love story had a punchline they'd conveniently forgotten. I put the folder back in my bag and tried to sleep. My phone buzzed twice. Messages from people asking if I'd made it in okay. I didn't answer. I turned the phone face down and closed my eyes and waited for tomorrow. The winery looked better in daylight than it had any right to. Someone had wrapped every post and railing in white fabric that moved in the wind like something out of a movie. Tables were set with centerpieces that probably cost more than my monthly rent. A string quartet was setting up near the barn entrance. I parked between a Tesla and a Range Rover and sat there for 5 minutes watching people arrive. Women in cocktail dresses, men in blazers that looked expensive but casual. Everyone laughing like this was the event of the season. I checked my bag. The folder was still there. 6 pages that weighed nothing and everything. The entrance had a welcome table with name cards arranged alphabetically. Mine was in the F section between someone named Fitzgerald and someone named Franco. The card was the same cream stock as the invitation. My name in that careful calligraphy. A table number in the corner. A woman with a clipboard smiled at me. Welcome. Are you family or friend? Friend? Of the bride or groom? Both. Her smile got wider like that was the best answer she'd heard all day. That's so special. They're such an amazing couple. I picked up my name card and kept walking. The barn had been transformed into something that belonged in a magazine spread. Chandeliers hung from exposed beams. The bar was backlit and staffed by people in black vests. A photo wall displayed pictures of Becca and Ryan through the years. I stopped in front of it because I couldn't help myself. There they were at graduation, on a beach somewhere tropical, at what looked like a New Year's party. In every photo they looked happy, in that specific way people look happy when they know someone's watching. Her hand on his chest, his arm around her waist. Staged candids that probably took 20 tries each. There were no photos from college, nothing from the year we'd all known each other. The timeline started clean, like they'd met in some romantic vacuum where history didn't exist. They're cute, right? I turned. A woman about my age holding a glass of white wine. She was looking at the photos with the kind of smile people use when they're trying to be polite about something they don't quite believe. Very cute. I'm Jenna, Becca's sorority sister. Nice to meet you. She waited for me to offer my name. When I didn't, she took a sip of wine and gestured at the photos. I still can't believe she's getting married. Feels like yesterday we were all doing keg stands in the house basement. Time moves fast. Do you know them from school? Yeah. What year? Same as them. Her expression shifted slightly. Something curious. Were you in Ryan's fraternity? No. She opened her mouth to ask another question, but someone called her name from across the room. She excused herself and disappeared into the crowd. I found my table near the back. 7 other place cards arranged around empty chairs. Names I didn't recognize. I sat down and watched the room fill up. Becca arrived 20 minutes later in a dress that probably cost more than my car. Pale blue. Fitted. Her hair was longer than I remembered and styled in waves that looked effortless but weren't. Ryan was next to her in a navy suit with no tie. They moved through the crowd like celebrities, hugging people and laughing at jokes I couldn't hear. They hadn't seen me yet. I was too far back, too unremarkable in my gray suit among all the other gray suits. The lights dimmed slightly. Someone tapped a microphone. Ryan's brother stood near the photo wall holding a glass of champagne and grinning like he'd won something. If I could get everyone's attention for just a minute. The room quieted. People turned toward the makeshift stage area near the bar. I want to start by saying how incredible it is to see everyone here tonight. My brother and his beautiful fiancée are 2 of the most amazing people I know, and watching them build a life together has been nothing short of inspiring. Applause. Becca pressed her hand to her chest in that universal gesture of gracious humility. Most of you know the story of how they met. Finals week, junior year. Ryan was stressed about his economics exam, and Becca offered to quiz him at the library. He says he knew right then she was special. She says he was just desperate for a study partner. Laughter rippled through the room. I felt my jaw tighten. But what you might not know is that Ryan almost didn't talk to her that day. He thought she was out of his league. Lucky for all of us, he found the courage, and the rest is history. More applause. Ryan kissed Becca's temple. She leaned into him like they'd choreographed it. The brother raised his glass. To Ryan and Becca, may your love story keep getting better with every chapter. Everyone drank. I didn't touch my water glass. The speeches continued. Becca's maid of honor told a story about a road trip to Nashville. One of Ryan's fraternity brothers made a joke about him finally settling down. Each story was polished and sweet and completely scrubbed of anything resembling the truth. Dinner arrived. Salmon like I'd selected. The people at my table introduced themselves. A couple from Ryan's work. 2 women from Becca's yoga studio. A guy who'd gone to high school with Ryan. They asked what I did and where I lived and how I knew the happy couple. I gave short answers that didn't invite follow-up questions. Dessert was some kind of layered mousse situation. The woman next to me said it was almost too pretty to eat and then ate it anyway. Ryan's brother took the microphone again. Before we wrap up, I want to open the floor to anyone else who'd like to say a few words. This is a celebration, and we'd love to hear from the people who've been part of Ryan and Becca's journey. A few people stood up. Becca's college roommate, Ryan's Ryan's coworker. Each speech was a variation on the same theme. Great couple. Perfect match. So happy for them. Then Ryan's brother scanned the room and his eyes landed on me. Actually, I think we have someone here who goes way back with both of them. Man, you've been quiet all night. Want to share any memories from the college days? The table next to mine turned to look. Then the table beyond that. A ripple of attention spreading backward until half the room was staring at me. Becca's face went pale. Ryan's expression froze in something that wasn't quite a smile anymore. I stood up slowly. My chair scraped against the floor louder than it should have. Sure, I can share a memory. Ryan's brother grinned and held out the microphone. Come on up. I walked toward the front. The crowd parted slightly. My messenger bag was still on my chair. I'd left it there on purpose. I didn't need props yet. The microphone was heavier than I expected. I adjusted my grip and looked out at the room. 143 people, all of them waiting. I'm glad I could be here tonight. It's been a long time since I've seen Ryan and Becca together. 6 years, actually. Becca was shaking her head slightly. Ryan had his hand on her arm. The story about how they met is really sweet. Finals week, the library, very romantic. A few people nodded. Someone near the front said something that sounded like agreement. The thing is, that's not actually how they met. They met through me. I was dating Becca at the time, and Ryan was my best friend. We all hung out constantly, studied together, went to parties together. We were close. The room had gone completely silent. Even the string quartet had stopped tuning. What Ryan's brother didn't mention is what happened right before finals week that year. See, Ryan and I had this running joke where we'd bet on stupid stuff. Who could chug a beer faster? Who could make the worst joke? That kind of thing. I could see Ryan trying to figure out how to stop this without making it worse. He was halfway out of his chair. One night we made a bet about whether Becca would stay loyal if someone else showed interest. Ryan said any girl would cheat given the right circumstances. I disagreed. So we bet $23 and a cheeseburger that he couldn't get her to break up with me. Someone gasped. I couldn't tell who. He won the bet. Took him less than a week. And then they just kept going. Turned the whole thing into a relationship. Which brings us here. To this beautiful party celebrating a love story that started as a loyalty test I paid for. Becca was standing now. Her face was red. You need to stop talking. I have the Venmo receipt if anyone wants to see it. $23. October 14th. 6 years ago. There's even a cheeseburger emoji. Ryan moved toward me, but his brother caught his arm. Dude, what are you doing? Sharing a memory, you asked. The room erupted. People talking over each other. Becca's maid of honor was staring at her. Ryan's fraternity brothers were looking at him like they were trying to solve a puzzle. Someone's mom was asking what a Venmo was. Becca grabbed the microphone from my hand. He's lying. This is insane. He's been obsessed with me for years and he can't handle that I moved on. I have the messages too, from both of you. Backed up, time-stamped, the whole thing. Ryan finally pushed past his brother. You're pathetic. You've been sitting on this for 6 years like some kind of psycho? I've been living with it for 6 years. There's a difference. Someone near the back yelled that we should take it outside. Someone else said they wanted to see the receipts. Becca was crying now, mascara running in thin black lines down her face. Ryan swung. His fist caught my shoulder because I moved at the last second. Someone screamed. His brother and 2 other guys grabbed him before he could try again. Security appeared from somewhere. 2 large men in black shirts who looked like they'd done this before. They moved between us while Ryan shouted that I'd ruined everything, and Becca sobbed into her maid of honor's shoulder. I handed the microphone to Ryan's brother and walked back to my table. My bag was still there. The folder still inside. I hadn't needed it after all. The truth had been enough on its own. People were leaving. Whole tables standing up and heading for the exits. Others were crowding around Becca and Ryan, trying to comfort them or get answers or just be part of the chaos. I picked up my bag and walked toward the door. The woman with the clipboard was gone. The welcome table was abandoned. Outside, the string lights were still glowing like nothing had happened. I made it to my car before anyone followed me. I got 3 steps into the parking lot before I heard someone running behind me. Wait, I turned. Jenna from the photo wall was jogging in heels, one hand holding her dress up slightly. She stopped a few feet away, breathing hard. That was real, all of that? Yeah, the bet, the money, everything. Everything. She stared at me like she was trying to see through me to something underneath. Can you prove it? I pulled out my phone and opened Venmo, found the transaction, held it out. She took the phone and studied the screen. Her finger scrolled down through the payment details. October 14th, $23. The cheeseburger emoji in the notes field, along with, you were right, LOL. This is from Ryan's account. To you. She handed the phone back. Her expression had shifted into something harder. I need to see the messages. Why? Because I've known Becca since freshman year, and if this is true, then I've been defending a lie for half a decade. I hesitated. The screenshots were on my phone, but sharing them felt different from saying the words out loud. Once I showed them, they'd exist beyond my control. Please, she said. I opened the folder I'd backed up years ago, found the thread between Ryan and me, handed the phone over again. She read in silence. Her face didn't change, but her grip on the phone got tighter. She scrolled through weeks of messages, his updates about Becca, my responses that got shorter and angrier, the final message where I told him to keep the money and lose my number. When she finished, she didn't say anything for a long time. I'm sorry, I said. For what? Ruining the party. You didn't ruin anything. They did. She looked back toward the barn. Through the windows, I could see people still clustered in groups, some leaving, some arguing. Becca told everyone you were obsessed with her, that you couldn't let go. She made you sound dangerous. I know. But you weren't dangerous, you were just right. Someone shouted inside the barn. A man's voice angry, then a woman's voice shouting back. Jenna winced. That's probably her mom. She's been planning this wedding for 8 months. I didn't think about the families. They deserve to know too. She handed my phone back. Do you have more, besides the Venmo and the messages? Like what? I don't know. Proof that it was a bet before anything happened. Something that shows intent. I pulled up another thread. This one between Ryan and me from the week before the Venmo payment. Found the message where he'd first suggested the bet. Showed her. She read it twice. He literally says, let's make this interesting. Like she was a game. That's what she was to him at first. first. And then what? He fell in love? Her voice was sharp. That doesn't make it better. That makes it worse. A couple emerged from the barn. The woman was crying. The man had his arm around her shoulders. They walked past us without looking up. How many people know? Jenna asked. About the bet? Just the 3 of us. And now everyone in there. No, I mean before tonight. Did you tell anyone back in college? A few people. But they were Ryan's friends too. They thought I was being dramatic. Of course they did. She pulled her phone from a small clutch purse. Started typing. I'm texting Becca's roommate from senior year. She needs to hear this from someone who isn't having a breakdown. Is that a good idea? Probably not, but I'm done protecting people who don't deserve it. More people were leaving now. A steady stream heading for the parking lot. Some were on their phones. Others were talking in low, urgent voices. A woman in a green dress stopped near us and asked Jenna if she was okay. I'm fine, Jenna said. Are you? The woman shook her head. Becca's inside saying he made everything up, that he faked the screenshots. He didn't. How do you know? Because I saw them. They're real. The woman looked at me like she was trying to decide something. Then she walked away without another word. Jenna watched her go. That's Melissa. She introduced Becca and Ryan to her boyfriend. Now she's probably wondering if he's a liar too. That's not my fault. I didn't say it was. She finished typing and put her phone away. But you just detonated 6 years of carefully constructed history. People are going to have questions. Let them ask Ryan and Becca. They're not going to get straight answers from them. A man's voice called Jenna's name. We both turned. A guy in a dark suit was walking toward us. He looked angry. What are you doing out here? He asked Jenna. Talking. Becca's asking for you. Tell her I'll be there in a minute. She needs you now. It's a disaster in there. Good. His eyes widened. What? I said good. Maybe it should be a disaster. You're her friend. So was he. She gestured at me, and they treated him like garbage. The guy looked at me for the first time. Recognition flickered across his face. You're the one who gave the speech. That was messed up, man. Whatever issues you have, you don't air them at someone's engagement party. He had a bet receipt and 6 years of lies, Jenna said. When exactly was the right time? Literally any other time. He turned back to Jenna. Are you coming or not? Not! He stared at her for 3 seconds. Then he walked away muttering something I couldn't hear. Jenna exhaled slowly. I'm going to pay for that tomorrow. You don't have to defend me. I'm not defending you. I'm defending reality. She pulled out her phone again, read something, shook her head. Becca's roommate says you're a liar and Becca would never cheat. Becca did cheat, that's the whole point. I know, but people believe what they want to believe. She typed a response and hit send. There. I just told her to ask Becca about October 14th. See what she says. This is going to get worse before it gets better. Everything does. Another group exited the barn. This time it was older people. Parents, probably. One woman was dabbing her eyes with a tissue. A man was on his phone speaking in clipped sentences. Jenna watched them. Ryan's parents paid for half of this. $50,000 for a party that just imploded. I didn't ask them to throw a party. I know, but they're going to blame you anyway. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. It was short. You're dead. I showed Jenna. She frowned. That's probably one of Ryan's fraternity brothers. They're very loyal. Great. You should leave before this gets uglier. What about you? I'll be fine. I know how to handle Becca when she's spiraling. She paused. Actually, I don't know if I want to anymore. You don't have to. 6 years, she said quietly. I've been friends with her for 6 years and she never told me the truth. She let me think they were this perfect couple with this perfect story. Maybe she convinced herself it was true. That doesn't make it okay. She looked at me. Really looked at me. What are you going to do now? Go home. Try to forget this happened. Will you? Probably not. She smiled slightly. It didn't reach her eyes. Me neither. My phone buzzed again. Another text from another unknown number. This one just said, psycho. Jenna saw my screen. Block them. There's going to be more. Then block them too. She checked her own phone. Made a face. Becca's maid of honor just called me a traitor in the group chat. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing. You didn't do anything wrong. She typed something fast and aggressive. There. I just left the chat. You're burning a lot of bridges tonight. Okay. She started to walk away, then stopped. Hey. Yeah? You waited 6 years to tell the truth. That took a lot of restraint. Or cowardice. No. Restraint. She smiled again. This time it looked real. I'm glad you finally said something. She walked back toward the barn. I watched her go. Then I got in my car and sat there with the engine off. Through the windows I could see shadows moving, people gesturing. Someone pointed at someone else. A woman threw her hands up. My phone kept buzzing. More texts. More angry messages from people who didn't know the full story and didn't care. I started the engine. Put the car in reverse. The winery lights were still glowing in my rearview mirror as I pulled onto the main road. Halfway home my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Then I did. Hello? It's Jenna. How'd you get my number? I asked Melissa. She got it from the guest list. A pause. Becca just admitted it. The bet. All of it. She's saying you manipulated the situation, but she's not denying the facts anymore. I didn't say anything. Ryan tried to defend it. Said it turned into something real so the beginning doesn't matter. His brother told him he was an idiot. Is she calling off the engagement? I don't know. Her parents took her outside. Ryan's parents are still inside yelling at him. She exhaled. It's a mess, but it's an honest mess now. That's something. Yeah. Another pause. I'm leaving. This isn't my circus anymore. Do you want to get coffee sometime? I have about 1,000 questions and I think you're the only person who'll give me straight answers. Sure. Really? Really? Okay. She sounded surprised. I'll text you once things calm down. If they calm down. When they calm down, I'm choosing optimism. She hung up. I kept driving. The highway was empty and dark. My phone stopped buzzing after a while. The truth was out there now, living in other people's phones, being discussed in group chats and family conversations, spreading in ways I couldn't control or predict. But for the first time in 6 years, it wasn't just mine anymore. I woke up the next morning to 63 notifications. Most were from numbers I didn't recognize. A few were from people I'd gone to college with but hadn't spoken to in years. One was from my cousin asking if I was okay. Another was from someone claiming to be a reporter for a local lifestyle blog. I deleted the app and made coffee. The kitchen was quiet. My apartment felt smaller than usual, like the walls had moved inward overnight. I sat at the counter and stared at the steam rising from my mug. My phone rang. I checked the screen. Jenna. Hey, have you seen it yet? Seen what? Someone filmed your speech. It's online. Multiple versions. I set the mug down. Where? Everywhere. One video has 40,000 views. Another one has 15. They're all over social media. How bad is it? Depends on your perspective. Some people are calling you a hero. hero. Others are calling you a psychopath. The comments are split pretty evenly. I pulled my laptop over and opened a browser. Searched my own name. Found 3 videos in the first 5 results. Clicked the one with the most views. The footage was shaky. Shot from somewhere near the back of the barn. The audio was muffled but clear enough. I watched myself stand up. Watched myself start talking. Watched the room turn from polite confusion to horrified silence. The video cut off right as Ryan lunged toward me. "There's a longer one," Jenna said. "Someone got the whole fight." There wasn't a fight. Ryan tried to make it one. You just stood there. I found the longer video. This one was shot from closer. Better angle. The person filming had been near the photo wall. I watched Ryan come at me. Watched his brother grab him from behind. Watched Becca scream something I couldn't make out. Watched her mother collapse into a chair while her father stood frozen with his mouth open. The comment section was brutal. "He's a legend. This is fake. Imagine ruining someone's engagement party like this. Imagine starting a relationship with a bet. Both of them are trash. He should have kept his mouth shut. He should have said something sooner." I closed the laptop. "You still there?" Jenna asked. "Yeah. Are you okay?" "I don't know. Do you regret it?" I thought about that. About 6 years of carrying the story alone. About watching them build a life on a foundation I knew was rotten. About standing in that barn and finally saying the thing I'd been too afraid to say. "No." "Good." She paused. "Because it's not going away. People are picking sides. Becca's friends are defending her. Ryan's fraternity brothers are calling you a liar. Someone started a whole thread breaking down the timeline." "What timeline?" "When the bet happened, when they started dating, when you found out. People are treating it like a true crime podcast." My phone buzzed. Another text. This one from someone named Amber. "You don't know the whole story." I showed Jenna over video chat. "That's Becca's maid of honor. She's been texting everyone trying to control the narrative." "What's her version?" "That you were obsessed with Becca. That Ryan saved her from you. That the bet was your idea and you're only upset because it backfired." "None of that is true." "I know, but she's convincing. She's got this whole speech about how you manipulated the situation to make yourself look like the victim. How do you manipulate someone into taking a bet and sleeping with your girlfriend? You don't. But logic isn't the point. She's trying to make people doubt what they saw." I poured the coffee down the sink. It had gone cold while we talked. "There's something else," Jenna said. "What?" "Claire wants to talk to you." "Who's Claire?" "The girl I mentioned last night. The one who found out Ryan was cheating." I remembered. The pale face in the crowd. The way she'd looked at me like I'd just confirmed something she already suspected. "Why does she want to talk to me?" "Because you're the only person who told the truth when it mattered." My phone buzzed again. Different number. The message just said, "Thank you." "Is that her?" Jenna asked. I checked the area code. Local. "Maybe. She's been a mess since last night. She confronted Ryan after you left. He denied everything at first. Then he admitted to kissing someone at a bachelor party. Then he admitted it was more than kissing. Then he said it didn't mean anything. Did Becca know?" "No, that's the thing. Becca had no idea. She's been so focused on planning the wedding that she didn't notice Ryan was barely around." "Where was he?" "With Claire. And apparently 2 other people. Ryan's been busy." I sat back down. The apartment felt even smaller now. "Claire's devastated," Jenna continued. "But she's also angry. She wants to meet up. She has questions about the bet, about how long you waited, about why you chose the engagement party. I don't owe her an explanation. I know. But I think she needs to hear from someone who understands what it's like to be lied to by people you trust. I barely know her. That might be exactly why she wants to talk to you." My phone buzzed. Another message from the same number. "Can we meet? I need to understand what happened." I stared at the screen. "What are you going to do?" Jenna asked. "She's not trying to attack you. She just wants answers." "Everyone wants answers." "Yeah, but she deserves them. She didn't do anything wrong. She was just collateral damage." I thought about that. About how many people had been hurt by Ryan and Becca's choices. About how the truth didn't just affect the 3 of us anymore. "Where does she want to meet?" "There's a coffee shop downtown. Neutral ground." "When?" "This afternoon, 2 o'clock. I checked the time. It was 11:30. "I'll think about it." "Don't think too long. She's fragile right now." "So am I." "I know." Jenna's voice softened. "But you're also the person who stood up in front of 100 people and said the thing no one else would say. That takes strength. Or stupidity. Sometimes they're the same thing." She hung up. I sat there with my phone in my hand. The thank you message was still on the screen. I typed back. "Coffee shop, 2 o'clock, I'll be there." The response came immediately. "Thank you." I spent the next 2 hours trying to distract myself. Cleaned the apartment, took a shower, changed clothes 3 times before settling on jeans and a plain shirt. Nothing too formal. Nothing that looked like I was trying too hard. At 1:45, I got in my car and drove downtown. The coffee shop was small. Local place with mismatched furniture and art on the walls from students at the nearby college. I'd been there once before, years ago, back when things were simpler. I arrived early, found a table in the corner, ordered black coffee and waited. Claire walked in at exactly 2 o'clock. She was shorter than I remembered. Dark hair pulled back, wearing jeans and an oversized sweater. She looked tired. The kind of tired that comes from crying too much and sleeping too little. She spotted me and walked over. Sat down across from me without saying anything. "Hi," I said. "Hi. Do you want coffee?" "I'm okay." We sat in silence for a minute. She kept her hands in her lap. Her eyes were red. "Thank you for coming," she said finally. "Sure. I wasn't sure you would." "I wasn't sure either." She smiled slightly. It didn't last. "I've been trying to figure out what to say. I had this whole speech planned, but now I'm here and I can't remember any of it." "You don't need a speech." "I feel like I do. You don't know me. You have no reason to care about what I'm going through. You were lied to by someone you trusted. I know what that feels like." She looked down at her hands. "Jenna told me about the bet, about how it started, about how long you knew. 6 years. That's a long time to carry something like that." "It was. Why didn't you say anything sooner?" I'd been expecting that question. I still didn't have a good answer. Because I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe it turned into something real. Maybe the beginning didn't matter if the ending was different. But it wasn't different. She looked up. "Ryan told me last night that he loved me. That what happened with those other people didn't mean anything. That I was overreacting. Do you believe him?" "I don't know what I believe anymore." A barista called out someone's order. The espresso machine hissed in the background. Normal sounds in a normal place while we talked about things that felt anything but normal. "Becca called me this morning," Claire said. "She wanted to explain. She said you twisted everything. That the bet was a joke. That Ryan only went along with it because you were being controlling." "That's not true." "I know." Jenna showed me the screenshots, the Venmo payment, the messages. It's all real. Did Becca admit that? Eventually. Eventually, after I told her I'd seen the proof, she started crying, said she made a mistake but that it was years ago and she's a different person now. Is she? Claire didn't answer right away. I don't think so. I think she's just better at hiding who she really is. What are you going to do? About what? About Ryan, about everything. She exhaled slowly. I don't know. Part of me wants to forgive him. Part of me wants to never speak to him again. Part of me just wants to understand why. You won't get a good answer. What do you mean? People like Ryan don't have good reasons. They just make choices and then justify them later. She nodded. Jenna said the same thing. Jenna's smart. She is. She's been the only person who hasn't tried to tell me what to do. What do other people want you to do? What do you think? I think I'm tired. I think I'm angry. I think I trusted someone who didn't deserve it. She paused. I think you're brave for saying what you said. I'm not brave. I'm just done being quiet. That's the same thing. We sat there for a while. She ordered tea. I got a refill. The coffee shop filled up with afternoon customers, students with laptops, couples sharing pastries, people living normal lives while ours felt like they were falling apart. Can I ask you something? Claire said. Do you regret it, standing up at the party? Everyone keeps asking me that, because it's a hard thing to do. Most people wouldn't have the guts. Most people wouldn't have waited 6 years. Maybe, but you did wait, and then you didn't. That counts for something. I thought about the videos online, the comments, the messages, the way my name was now attached to this story forever. I don't regret it, I said, but I wish it hadn't been necessary. Me too. She finished her tea, checked her phone, made a face. Ryan's texting me. He wants to meet. He says he can explain everything if I just give him a chance. Are you going to? I don't know, should I? That's not my call. But you know him. You were friends once. Do you think people can change? I thought about Ryan, about the guy I'd known in college, about the person who'd taken a bet and turned it into a relationship, about someone who could look at me across a barn and act like I was the problem. I think people can change, I said, but only if they want to, and I don't think Ryan wants to. She nodded slowly. That's what I thought too. She stood up, gathered her things. Thank you for meeting me. I know this was probably weird. It was, but I'm glad I came. Me too. She hesitated. Can I ask one more thing? Go ahead. How did you know it was time to finally say something? I didn't. I just got tired of pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. She smiled. A real smile this time. That makes sense. She left. I stayed, ordered another coffee I didn't really want, and watched people come and go. My phone buzzed. Jenna. How'd it go? Okay, I think. She texted me, said you were kind. I wasn't trying to be kind. I was just honest. Same thing. Is it? Usually. I paid the bill and walked outside. The sun was lower now. Afternoon turning into evening. The street was busy with people heading home from work. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from a number I recognized. Ryan. We need to talk. I stared at the screen. Thought about blocking him. Thought about responding. Thought about all the things I could say and all the ways he'd twist them into something else. I deleted the message and kept walking. 3 weeks passed before I stopped checking my phone every 10 minutes. The videos eventually faded from the front page of the algorithm. New scandals replaced old ones. People moved on to the next thing worth arguing about. I didn't hear from Ryan again. Becca sent one message through a mutual friend asking me to take down the screenshots. I ignored it. The wedding was postponed indefinitely. Last I heard, they were still together, trying to salvage what was left. Claire and I met for coffee again the following week. Then again, the week after that. She'd ended things with Ryan the day after our first conversation. Blocked his number, deleted the photos, started over. We talked about everything except Ryan and Becca at first. Music, books, the kind of small talk that eventually turns into something bigger when you're not forcing it. She told me about her job. I told her about mine. Normal things. Easy things. One afternoon, she brought up the bet. You know what's funny? She said. What? You tried to prove loyalty and ended up proving the opposite, but you also proved something else. What's that? That honesty matters more than timing. Took me 6 years to figure that out. Better late than never. She reached across the table and touched my hand. Just for a second. Long enough to mean something. I'm glad you said something, she said. Even if it was messy, even if it hurt people, some things need to be said. Yeah, and I'm glad I was there to hear it. We left the coffee shop together. Walked down the street without a destination. The air was cool. The city felt smaller somehow. Less overwhelming. My phone stayed in my pocket. Hers too. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying anything I needed to prove. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your favorite part in the comments. See you in the next one.